excited today. This is going to be one of my favorite interviews, and I couldn't get a better birthday present. It's September 10th right now while we're recording this. You'll probably be seeing this on Jesus Christ's birthday, hopefully tomorrow, September 11th. We can give Jesus a birthday present for all that he's given us. I got Angeli-Chansley, the shaman, Captain America, the horn guy, the legend, the super soldier, waiting in the wings, and I'm just going to bring him in because I'm too excited. That's it. So here's Jacob, my man. What's going on, man? I think I've been waiting over 2 years for this. I knew that this would happen someday when the time was right. When the boss, the one who's pulling the strings for all of this, thought it would be appropriate, and I couldn't have asked for a much better birthday present. So thank you for joining me today.
Happy birthday. Glad I could give you something good for it.
Yes, we need some good things. So hopefully by the end of this, we might be able to comfort in some way, shape, or form people that are seeing this video, because there are people that are, even though it's our responsibility, and it is ultimately our fault as a collective, because we let this shit show get here, as a whole. We were complacent, and what takes whatever hundreds or thousands of years to completely crumble to the ground takes more than 7, 8, 10 years to fix. And a lot of people have been working behind the scenes, I believe, here on Earth and other places, which we'll get into hopefully in a few moments. But is there anything, before I'm rambling? It's called Tenor Talk for a minute because I do like to talk. And what would you like to? What can you drop on us, or what would you like to say important right now to open up the show so people get to hear from you right away? So take the floor and give me something. Give us something.
Okay. So if we look at the highlights of human development, we're looking at the highlights in 3 strains: biological, anthropological, and cultural. So, 6 billion years for life, 100,000 years for mankind as we know it, 10,000 years for civilization to really begin to take hold and unfold. And if we look at the time scales that are involved, obviously we're seeing a narrowing of the amount of time that it takes to get from one evolutionary step to the next. Now, when we look at history, we're looking largely at the evolution of populations, not so much the evolution of individuals. However, the evolution of the populations is largely based on the evolution of individuals, because certain self-selected individuals or groups of individuals come up with a new tool, a new model of looking at reality, or a new form of behavior. Now, a lot of the time, these individuals are doing so because there are great social and environmental pressures that are surrounding them in their tribe. Then they figure out a way to circumvent, these individuals figure out a way to circumvent the social and environmental pressure. Now, these social and environmental pressures create windows in time and space. They create windows of opportunity in history. And these individuals recognize these windows of opportunity in time and space and in history. And then they invent a new tool, a new model of reality, or a new form of behavior that allows the individual and the tribe to circumvent the social and environmental pressure. So they take this new tool, model of reality, or form of behavior, and they walk through this window of opportunity. And in doing so, they influence the tribe, their thoughts, their verbiage, their words, their actions, etc. And then they too are able to circumvent the social and environmental pressure to not only survive, but to thrive. And these new forms of behavior, these new models of reality, or these new tools are then carried with us into the future, so that future generations can then learn from these new models, these new tools, these new forms of behavior, so that they can also thrive in the future. Now, we are currently living in a time of great social and environmental pressure, right? the censorship, the propaganda, the psychological operations, the famine, the war, the chaos, the disease, the greed, the corruption. And that has created a window of opportunity through which individuals such as myself and those that are watching and listening, and others are going to have to walk through this window of opportunity, that is in our current paradigm. And we're going to have to do so with either all three of the things that I mentioned: a tool, a model, or a new form of behavior, or at least one of those things. Now, if we look into the patents that Donald Trump declassified in 2020, the zero-point energy engine, the room temperature superconductor, and the TR-3B, which is a triangular shaped craft that uses inertia, propulsion, or anti-gravity technology, these are the kinds of tools that can be used to circumvent the social and environmental pressure. Just as Nikola Tesla, in his Tesla Tower technology, infinite free, clean, wireless electricity, is another tool that we can use to circumvent the social and environmental pressure. Dr. Rife and his machine and the use of frequencies and vibration to boost the immune system and kill disease. That is also another tool that can be used to circumvent the social and environmental pressure. So we have all the tools that are necessary. What's that?
Can I pause you there for a moment without you losing your?
Yeah.
So we were touching briefly before we came on, and I was telling you the story about how I broke my father out of the nursing home end of June, and I've been treating him with frequency healing, and this is a Tesla based wireless coil that goes into what they're calling the med bed in a pocket, and I'm treating my father, and it's based on that Rife technology. I'm glad you said that. So you believe in that and ultimately I said to you, ultimately this is really just tapping us. All of that stuff is tapping us into the power that we ultimately have. We just have to learn how to really manifest that and claim that. But this thing is tapping us into it. And my father's back there. I'll have you say hello to him in a moment. But because I want people to know about that, because it's important. I'm like obsessed at this point in this journey. There's been a lot that's happened for me, but at this point in this journey, I'm focused on healing my father. I talk about this every show because I want people to go to, which I put a little site together. It's right there, healingtheworld.love. Talks about this technology. I have testimonies on there. It's changing people's lives. My father's 88 years old, and I have him off every single medication, like except for one, for his water retention, right, to get rid of his water for his CHF. And it's amazing what's going on. And these are the things that are coming. These are the technologies that have been kept from us. These are the things that have kept us enslaved. They kept everything that the Creator gave us to thrive and survive and not be sick. And all of these things are coming back. It's just a matter of time. Like you can see, these things are coming back quicker and quicker, and the censorship is loosening, right? Because you couldn't get a word out of any of this stuff. You got thrown off of everything. So it looks like the good guys and the boss is kind of tipping the scale to the winning side, but we still look like we're in somewhat of a battle. So pick back up with you. So I mean, do you endorse any of these? I mean, you're talking about the technology that I'm actually been using for a year now, and it's helping people. I mean, you're talking about it, and I didn't even know you were going to do that, which is amazing.
Well, coming back to the example I was giving, and I'll answer your question regarding the technology in a little bit. This is really important to grasp, because these technologies that we're talking about, in order to understand how they work, you have to understand energy, frequency, and vibration. So Nikola Tesla once said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So when we talk about Tesla, when we talk about Dr. Rife, when we talk about his machine, when we talk about the Tesla towers or the patents that Donald Trump declassified, in order to understand how they work, you need to understand energy, frequency, and vibration. So that gives people a new mental model of reality in the world. And it also gives us a new tool that will allow us to circumvent this social and environmental pressure. The social and environmental pressure is there because the globalist less than 1%ers have what is called full spectrum dominance system, where they own and control all the resources, all the labor, all the transportation, the land, the water, the air, the sea, the deep underground military bases, the satellites, the technology, chemical and biological agents, the currency system, the law and the lawfare. And most importantly, they have psychological warfare campaigns that'll allow them to control the minds of the public, control our collective consciousness, in other words. So these technologies, if you look into them, what you find, and if you look into like Nikola Tesla stories or Dr. Rife stories, or if you look into the stories regarding these patents that were declassified, what you're going to find is three things. Number one, you're going to find the corruption at its inception here in the United States, the Federal Reserve Bank, the families that sought to meter our energy and our electricity, the families that sought to control our resources and our labor and monopolize these things, the families that sought to create and maintain a debt-based fiat currency, etc. So you're going to find the corruption at its inception, okay? And then you're also going to find all the ways in which these technologies are applicable to our modern society and all of its problems. And then number three, you're going to find the secrets of the universe, energy, frequency, and vibration. So this essentially gives us all of these tools, all of these technologies and the stories behind them, gives us a new tool, gives us a new model of reality. And by not complying, non-compliance, non-violent, non-cooperation with the full spectrum dominant system, we have a new form of behavior. And all of these things will allow us to circumvent the social and environmental pressures that we're going through. So when it comes to the technologies regarding, these, med beds or frequency healing and stuff, there are a lot of charlatans out there. There are a lot of people that say that what they have is the real deal, or what they have is, the thing everybody needs, and they're trying to make money on it, when in reality, these things are not effective. I have personally chosen to go largely kind of to the source. I got my Rife machine from a man named Matthew Rife, who is I believe, grand nephew or great nephew of Royal Raymond Rife. And he has his own website. He has his own, he's on Twitter. If you want to find him on the X app, you can find him under Matthew Rife. And he has made these machines. I have one at home. It's worked wonders for myself, my mother, and my dog.
Right. We get that with the. I think the Healy in one of their videos they talk about the that it's based from the Rife, all of the Rife technology, and it analyzes. It's pretty awesome. I mean, I didn't come on here to sell this, but it's done wonders for my father, for me, my sister, and a bunch of people. But the great news is the technologies are coming back, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to heal and stuff. I usually don't write notes. I wrote a few notes, and I asked you about something before we came on, because I wanted to go somewhere that, if I haven't wound up in a padded room yet, after we go into what I want to ask you about next, they might send the wagon over here. So I was telling you that obviously everyone knows who you are from the Capitol, and Horn Guy and all of that, Captain America. It's awesome, and thank you, man. It's just you're just such a badass. But so I remember when I was starting to do my speak my truth and everything, and everyone thought I was out of my mind, and I started losing everything and everyone and jobs and everything, like a lot of people did, just when we started to speak out the truth, right? Speak the truth. And I was going out one night, so I was still drinking, so it was before my awakening, so it was actually before my birthday. Do you remember an approximate date when you put that video out on Facebook? I think it may have only been around for a day or two before they took it down, the video that I want to talk about next. Do you remember a date approximately? I thought it was maybe about a week before my birthday. I thought it was like days. Everything was happening so fast.
Well, if you're talking about 2 years ago, then I didn't put it out on Facebook, because
Oh,
2
you
years ago
didn't?
I was in prison.
No, I mean, no, it's more than two. Let's see, 21, 23. I lost track of the date, but it was put out there. It's the video where you're talking about, hey guys, I had to get your attention, somehow, obviously speaking about what took place at the Capitol. And
No,
no, oh no, okay, I'm sorry. Correct that.
no. So the video that you're referencing was put out sometime, I believe, in early 2020.
Okay. All right. Well, when I saw that video on Facebook, something told me I had to capture that video. So I didn't know how to use screen capture and everything. I was telling you, I set my tripod up and my little camera and I recorded. It's like an hour and 14 minutes, and it's a breathtaking video of you. You said we can go here today because this is really mainly what I want to speak about. It's a video of you explaining that you are a super soldier. You are with the highest levels of the Navy, and I often refer to that video. And along this journey, after on my birthday of September of 21, when I was at a low and I got tapped on the shoulder, I don't know what happened. I don't know. The creator came and beat the piss out of me and changed my life and woke me up and sent me out into this insane thing that we're still in the middle of. Okay. But here you are in this video. You're explaining you're a super soldier. You're traveling the galactics and anti-gravity and crafts, and we can get from here to like France in a split second. And the Navy released these patents, which is true, which was there, which you're saying, you said Trump actually released them. And here you are talking about, and you're saying you're Captain America. And there's only a couple people that we talk about this, and I've released this video that I captured because it's on my Rumble channel. I couldn't find it. I didn't know it was on your website. Which your website is what?
It's not.
Oh, it's not on your website. So someone sent me somewhere where there's some of your videos where you're actually talking about, the building of like the new cities, which I want to touch
Oh
on.
yeah, that's my Rumble channel, not my website.
Oh, that's your Rumble channel. All right. So that's going to be in the
My
description.
old Rumble channel. I don't really post anything on it anymore.
Okay. I didn't know it existed, and I thought I was the only one that had this video of you. So here we are. You're talking about your Captain America. You're talking about, shit that you really only like hear about in movies. Like as if when we watch your video, it's like we're watching a movie because it's not real, but it's real. Like I know that in my heart, the moment I saw that video, I'm like, thank God I saw this video. I have to process this, but this is the thing that keeps me going, because here you are telling us about free energy that's coming. What's involved in the Space Force. You're talking about the conductor, that's about the size of a couple of 55-gallon drums, and then there's the other piece of equipment that cools it.
No,
And
no,
that
no, no, no. You have it the
Go
other way
ahead.
around.
So go ahead. Tell me.
It's the
Explain.
0 point. It's a 0 point energy engine, which is actually, like the size of a small box. And then you have the room temperature superconductor that cools the 0 point energy engine and keeps it room temperature so that it doesn't overheat because of all the energy that it's processing. And then you have the TR3B, the triangular shaped craft that gets all of this energy from the 0 point energy engine. And the TR3B is the inertia propulsion or anti-gravity craft that we spoke of earlier.
And those are in existence. They've
They've
been for
been in
some.
existence.
They've been in
The
existence.
thing is, we've had these things for decades. These patents just got released in 2020 because we have much, much more profound and, shall we say, faster tech now. We're talking things that are like tachyon engines and stuff like that.
So back to you, because this is what I wanted to talk about today. And some people won't grasp this, but this is what I want to talk about today. And this video will be archived when people start to get it, and they can listen to this once again. Here you are, a couple years ago. You're telling us, I'm Captain America. I'm traveling in the galactics. All of this stuff is going on. We've got anti-gravity aircraft. You just said we've had it for decades, and we have even much more than that. And this stuff is coming to light quicker and quicker as the days go by. But I'm going to jump all around. But in that video, here you are. People think you're just some lunatic that painted his face and put a fur and horns on and went into the Capitol, which is all part of this grand plan showing how evil these people are and what their stuff. And I believe the good guys, which is you and the boss and the military, we kind of we sank our teeth into that whole situation, and you were in there and let it play out the way that they wanted to make it play out. And there's a big significant reason around that date. It's such a significant date, and not what people think, what it's going to flip to when everything gets exposed. It's like breathtaking, and there you are, and you're in the middle of that insanity, and people think you're nuts, and you're a guy that's in jail ordering like organic food and stuff, and you're like you're like a top of the line, as high as it gets on the planet and beyond, soldier, helping to fix this mess. Have I said anything that's not correct yet?
Well, I mean, I really was in prison. I really was in solitary confinement for 10 and a half months. They were supposed to bring me organic food based on a court order.
Right.
They didn't always fulfill their obligation, to be perfectly honest with you. But, you know, yeah, in the higher levels, the etheric realms and all that stuff, all of this stuff, like super soldier stuff, it all intertwines with that. There's multiple levels and dimensions that most normies, most people that are not awake to the death matrix that we have been subjected to, there's all sorts of stuff that people don't know what they don't know. And even if you begin to start to try to explain it to them, it's so much for their mind to wrap around that the rubber band of their mind will snap before it will stretch. So this process has to be one that is slow, that is controlled, that is as they like to say, you give an infant milk before you give them meat. An infant cannot eat meat. They don't have the teeth to consume it. They don't have the teeth to chew it. They'll just choke. So you give an infant milk, and that milk is something that they consume until they grow teeth, and then eventually they can eat meat. But even then, they can only eat small amounts of it. They can't eat a steak the way a man would eat a steak. So this process has to be one that is slow and unfolds strategically, the way that raising a child from infancy to adulthood would unfold.
Okay, that's perfectly said. So could we be talking about, as we're growing and each person is going on their journey, we're gonna break out of the matrix, so to speak, if we're lucky, on our own timing, as a part of part of this plan is obviously trying to flip this and get these people out of the matrix and to go to understand those things that you're speaking about. Would it be safe to say that that's going into a different dimension? Like most people, like we're 3D, so we need to go 4 or 5D. Is that when we're gonna understand, like, what dimension is? Am I onto something? Like we have to grow and
Yeah,
then we can
well,
see these things.
try and look at it like this. Human beings are already fifth dimensional beings. They're just not conscious of it.
Okay.
So think of it like this. You have a three-dimensional body, right? And that three-dimensional body is in space and time as it exists for itself. But the mind and the spirit are of the fifth dimension. And so, for example, the only way you can stand up and walk to the refrigerator and get yourself a glass of water is if you first conceive of it in your mind, if you see it as in the field of possibilities that exist beyond the third dimension, right? So then what you do, because you're thirsty, is you stand up, you move your three-dimensional body through the fourth dimension of time over to the fridge, you pull out the water, you pour yourself a glass and you drink it. All of those things existed in the fifth dimension of possibilities, quantum possibilities. And you moved your three-dimensional body through the fourth dimension of time to make that fifth dimensional possibility a three-dimensional reality. So if you were to look at the body from like a fourth or fifth dimensional perspective, what you would see is all of the versions of yourself from birth to death, almost like a caterpillar or a worm or a snake across space and time, because all of the different versions of yourself moving through space and time are interconnected to one another. You see, so it's not just your 3D physical body, moving from one place to another without being connected to all the previous places that it was. You see what I'm saying? So in a way, the physical body is what is called a standing wave of energy that is moving through the dimensions of space and time and interconnected with these higher dimensions of energy that exist on higher vibratory levels of electromagnetic and energetic activity.
I'm glad we're recording, because that's a mouthful.
It's deep.
And
Yeah, it's deep, and this is
it,
why I'm saying that not everybody's going to be able to handle it. Like, I could explain it to you,
yeah,
but good luck wrapping your mind around it if you're still eating GMOs and drinking fluoride water and watching the tube and drinking beer, and you know what I'm saying?
yeah. Part of my awakening 2 years ago, I was able to quit drinking and everything, and I started to indulge. This might be a shocker to people. I had a glass of wine at Christmas, and I'm in control of it. I have no more than like 2 beers, but it's been getting stressful, and so I'm glad my birthday. I went to the place where I had my awakening, last night, because it was from the night before my birthday over midnight into my birthday. I went back to honor that anniversary and had a last beer, hopefully, there, because I quit drinking again on Christ's birthday tomorrow. So hopefully I'm going back there, because I just want to be. I'm eating good. I think I'm mentally and physically in the best shape of my life at 55. It's my loud and clear Q birthday, 55 and 9/10/2023 is 17. Pretty cool. So I got to get back there and honor that and be clean. And I want you, while we're here, I want you to. Can you promise to come back so we can specifically talk about that? Because I know that I've tapped into some of that when I try, because the mind is so busy. The devil has the mind going 1,000 miles an hour in the matrix, that it's very hard to tap into what you just spoke about, because that's beautiful. And I believe that is all real. And we all have that. That's what we're supposed to be experiencing. That's what it's supposed to be. So I do want to talk about that. Hopefully you can come back like sometime in October, maybe around the 14th or something like that, 15th, and
Yeah,
we can maybe.
maybe we could do that. The thing is that if you just go to my website, forbiddentruthacademy.com,
Going to say that we have
um,
it here. Oh,
yeah, if you just
Forbidden Truth Academy.
yeah, forbiddentruthacademy.com. If you go there and you just take some of the free courses, all the stuff about the
Oh,
dimensions
you
and
got them
reality and
there.
stuff, yeah, you can watch those free courses and it'll help to explain all this stuff.
Okay, that's what I wanted to. So we're going to put that in it's Forbidden Truth Academy. So that's what's supposed to be happening, is that this is available to us now. The veil's coming down a little bit. We're less censorship, and so we're going through this slow drip of what you're talking about here. So let me ask you. Might not be able to answer this exactly. Maybe it's like a two-part. So we have a lot to learn. We obviously have a lot to learn that has been kept from us, and we're at the point now where we can start to learn. Stop me when I'm wrong, because we are winning the battle between good and evil. Like, we know that we win. We know there is an end date. We hear trust the plan and all of these things. A lot of the stuff you spoke about in that amazing video, which everyone should watch. And I'm going to be greedy, and I'm going to put my link that I recorded on Tenor Talk, and I will have that link under here. And I think it's called Horn Guy from the Capitol Riot as a Navy super soldier or something like that. It'll be right underneath in this, and everyone should see that video, because that's what. Do you think people, that covers so much, and then you can branch off and say, holy shit, what do I want to learn about first? Because you cover everything. I mean, almost everything in that video. It makes every hair on my body stand up, the level of what's going on in there. And if I can stress one thing today for people to please have an open mind. Here's Jake, who, you know, everyone just think is this guy that, you know, crashed into the Capitol and stuff. And you've got this guy who's bringing what the beauties and the wonder of the world that has been kept from us. He's right at the I think you're leading the pack, brother. I mean, I haven't heard anyone speak on your level, and I don't think there's any. I think that you've been tasked to take on this thing head on. That's how important you are, and I want people to open their mind, because I know a lot of this sounds crazy, but imagine if you just open your mind and you listen to what he's saying. There's nothing terrible here. There's nothing but literally heaven on earth. It's what has been kept from us. It's what every movie you've seen that you wished that would be the reality of the world. It is the reality of the world, and that's what you bring. And I want people to start opening their minds, and I really beg them to go watch that video and know that you are speaking the truth. What you bring to the table and the information and what's in that video and what you say today is the absolute truth. And if it isn't, I want to just be struck dead right now, because there's nothing to live for if we don't get back to the place and the things that you're speaking about, Jacob. We have to get there. We have to.
Well, one thing I want you to realize is that we already have made it there. The question is how long will it take for us to embody that physical reality? We have essentially gotten up out of the chair and are walking across the room to get ourselves a glass of water here on a like collective level. So we've already envisioned the reality. It's already become a reality, or it's in that like in a higher level dimension. It exists, and it's just about us branching to that reality through our thoughts, our words, and our actions, through this spiritual development that we're all going through. Now, what I think is really important to mention here is that, are you aware that if you help a butterfly out of a cocoon, then you'll kill the butterfly?
I'm not.
Okay, so the way a butterfly becomes a butterfly, obviously it goes through the, time of being a caterpillar, and then it goes into its cocoon and it metamorphosizes. Its DNA literally changes. It's very beautiful. It's very complex, and it's absolutely incredible. According to modern science, things like that aren't possible. So, like the metamorphosizing of DNA and the altering of code and all that stuff. But
According to fake science.
yeah, exactly. People think fake news is, mind blowing. Wait until they get a load of fake history and fake science. So if you help the caterpillar in any way, shape, or form as it is emerging from the cocoon as a butterfly, then you will essentially kill it. And this is why. When the butterfly makes a hole in its cocoon, the hole is small and it has to struggle. It has to really struggle to get out of that cocoon. And as it makes its way through that little tiny hole, and it stretches that little tiny hole into a bigger hole so that it can come out and its wings can fit through it, what ends up happening is that the tightness of the hole for the cocoon ends up squeezing the caterpillar, or squeezing the butterfly's body to squeeze blood into the wings, so that the wings can get all the blood they need to necessarily fully develop upon exiting the cocoon. So if you even open that hole for the butterfly even just a little bit, you're killing it, because it will not be able to fly upon exiting the cocoon. So, and that's because the blood didn't get into its wings. So its wings didn't fully develop. So the struggle that we are going through now as a species, as individuals, is each of us emerging from the cocoon individually and collectively. And it will be a struggle. The hole is really small, and we have to fit through this very narrow window of opportunity in history, in space and time. And we have to literally embody these new frequencies. We have to get the blood into our wings. We have to get the thoughts and the emotions into the collective mind and into our own that are necessary. in order to fly spiritually into these higher dimensions, which is why I opened this with the truth about understanding the secrets of the universe and understanding energy, frequency, and vibration. Because without understanding those things, we won't make it. And that's what's so beautiful about all of this. That's what's so interesting about all of this, is that we have everything that we need. The metamorphosis is largely already completed. Now we need to get out of the cocoon. Now we need to get through this very narrow hole, this very narrow window in space and time, this very narrow window of opportunity in history. And as we squeeze through it as individuals and as a collective, we push the blood into our spiritual wings, and we become a spacefaring species as we were meant to be. Now, I would also like to add that I was not on craft when I was traveling and traversing the galaxy.
You must be reading my mind. Go ahead.
So the way that this works is that there are highly developed interdimensional beings that have basically accessed and activated the chakras that go above the body. Okay, and the only way that that is possible is to activate and harmonize the chakras within the body to the point where the frequency reaches such a height that the new chakras above the body get activated, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, all the way up to the 33rd. And when you do that, as you undergo that process, you begin to access these other dimensions within which the chakras resonate, these other frequencies of electromagnetic vibration that the human mind and body are connected to. And when you get into those higher levels, you are then able to traverse mentally and spiritually in those dimensions, which are connected to the blueprints of physical reality itself. So it's basically what we're talking about here is like what the saints used to do: bilocation, astral projection, basically like metaphysical flight. Okay. So when I was going out into the ether, basically, when I was going out into the astral plane, I was essentially going out to outer space. Now, this is what's important to understand. Inner and outer space are exactly the same thing. Okay. And they, as above, so below, right? So as within, so without. So the idea is that everything is, all of reality is fractal in nature. It is all interconnected. It is all based off of the same harmonic resonance pattern. It is all based on the same patterns of energy: the vector equilibrium, the double torus field, the sacred spiral, the Fibonacci spiral, the phi ratio, etc. And when you understand the fractal nature of reality and how all things interconnect with one another, then what you end up doing is you end up ascending into these higher levels in development, these higher levels of consciousness, where you're able to process more information, not just in the brain and in the DNA, but in the electromagnetic field or the consciousness field that surrounds your body. And as you activate these higher level chakras, your consciousness field, your electromagnetic field begins to expand and expand and expand. And you begin to consciously be able to affect and control the effect of your frequency, your electromagnetic vibration in these other dimensions of reality. And in the process, you're able to bilocate using these other frequencies of electromagnetic activity to other locations on the planet that are all interconnected by the ether.
Again, thank goodness we are recording. So, but you have a lot of this on your website. You talk about
Yeah, you can check out the stuff on the website. That might make
yeah.
it easier.
I mean, people
I
should. The
have
first thing.
diagrams. I have diagrams and stuff to kind of show everything I'm talking about.
No, I know you are. That's why I have to get through people's heads. I have to. I mean, I know there's such a divide. There's such a division from people that, still somehow love each other so much, but they can't talk to each other anymore. They can't be with each other, which is, oof. It's so
Sad.
distressing.
Yeah, but that's the idea, is that as you have intimate familial ties or lifelong friendships ending, because of political identities. What you have is a fracture in the collective consciousness of humanity. They then begin to invest their minds, their time, their attention into this illusion of separation. And it is based on the illusion of separation that all acts of evil are committed, because everything is in truth one. All things are one. So the illusion of separation is antithetical to the truth of unity.
So you know what? I didn't know this might go here today. This might be a good segue because I know this could potentially be
Oh,
extremely
wait,
helpful.
wait, wait. Really
Go
quick,
ahead.
really quick. I meant to mention. So what has happened is that because there's highly developed beings both in the galaxy and on the planet that are able to do this astral projection bilocation process, that have activated these chakras above their body and essentially become a metaphysical caterpillar that's able to fly, or I mean, a metaphysical butterfly that's able to fly around. They're no longer a caterpillar, right? There are specific entities within the government that have sought to, through technology, achieve the same level of travel, achieve the same level of possible bilocation, okay, or at least on a certain level, astral travel, okay. So this is where we get into this notion of like vehicles and stuff that have been created by the government. Now, there are also interdimensional, or what some people would call extraterrestrial civilizations, that have chosen to tap into this higher level unified field of consciousness. And these entities are also able to bilocate and come to the planet and help us to ascend. And then there's also the other side of interdimensional or extraterrestrial civilizations that have chosen to rather go down the technological route. They have chosen to invest themselves in fully understanding the laws of physics. And in one way or another, they have kind of tapped into or hacked into the matrix of reality, the divine matrix of reality. They've learned the basics and the advanced levels of the laws of physics. And then they have crafted tools that allow them to hack into the divine matrix. And in doing so, they also hacked into their own biology, their own DNA. And they've created things like clones and genetic hybrids and stuff like that. They've also developed artificial intelligence. And in the process, what they've done is they've also created craft that are able to create things like wormholes and stuff like that and traverse the galaxy. But it's all technology based. And because of that, they have reinforced in their own hearts and minds this illusion of separation. They have become entirely focused on the physical and physical development, technological development, and they have not immersed themselves into the consciousness aspect, the spiritual, the metaphysical aspect, the unified field. They know that it exists, but they have chosen the illusion of separation as a means of hacking into the system so that they can traverse the galaxy without getting to these spiritually advanced levels of being able to do things like bilocation and astral projection.
Wow. So I just have to, on that, I have to ask you. So you're talking about traveling basically in the mind, right? Through
No,
the
it's more so
chakra.
spiritual. The mind is like an
It's a
anchor.
terrible thing, no. Spiritual, spiritual. But so I have a question. If you can answer, you're talking about ETs or whatever other galactic places and people, and you're saying like they're here. Are they here spiritually, or in the near future are we physically going to know and say, holy shit, that's so and so Thor, or from that galaxy and such, it's real? Are we physically or spirit are we physically going to sometime in the near future, in this lifetime hopefully, see craft, see visitors, see things? Are we, or is that only potentially going to be spiritual? If you can answer that.
Well, they've been here for a long time.
I mean, but who gets to see them? The people that
Well,
are talking
the
about.
people that are ready, they like, look at it like this: the amount of UFO, or as the government says, UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, the amount of UFO or UAP activity over civilization is, we're talking literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of sightings per year. Okay. And then if you map these areas where they are seen, and the people that see them are the only ones that are documented are the ones that report them. So then there are people that see them and do not report them. And then this is usually largely over areas of civilization. And then if you map those locations, and then you recognize the fact that most of the time most of the planet is not occupied by human beings or civilization, and then you were to take the amount of sightings over civilization and then amplify or multiply the amount of sightings over civilization into the areas of the planet that are not quote unquote civilized, then we're getting into a whole other level of the amount of entities or vehicles that are making their way to this planet. And they're doing so through vortexes, both in the galaxy, in the solar system, and on the planet. Stargates, as some people call them. So, what you're asking is, will we ever physically see them like a gray alien or something like in the movie Paul?
Just
Or like
fit like.
ET, like a physical entity right there saying this person is
Yeah,
this
how are
being
we
is.
going to experience it?
Well, one thing I want you to keep in mind is that for thousands of years, like in biblical tradition, there's been conversations between prophets and angels. And there's also been the expelling of demonic entities or demons from people's bodies or from ecosystems. Jesus, get behind me, Satan, all that stuff. So this stuff has been going on for a long time. But what you have to understand is that only the most highly advanced and highly developed spiritual entities are able to perceive these beings. And the ones that are not highly advanced and highly spiritually evolved, those people that interact with these entities are largely interacting with the lower dimensional demonic entities. And this is where we get into things like black magicians, human and child sacrifice, death magic, things of that nature, because in order to make contact with those lower dimensions, they require a sacrifice, right? And then the entities that from these lower dimensions then feed off of that pain, that fear, that suffering, that death. Okay. And so these ancient civilizations that were practicing human and child sacrifice and stuff like that, black magic rituals, basically, they were making contact with lower dimensional entities, lower dimensional beings. And then in many cases, as these people started to do these things more and more, the quote unquote priests, right? Or some people would say satanic witches and warlocks and stuff like that, basically evil shaman, they would end up becoming vehicles for these demonic entities. They would basically allow themselves to become demonically possessed. And then in that sense, what you would end up seeing is like, have you seen the movie Nefarious?
No, I don't. I think I'm was partially saved a little bit because I'm not buried in front of a TV and I'm.
Well, no, that's fine. It's just it's a really good movie, and it kind of expresses what's going on in the spiritual war that we're in. And the entity that supposedly was possessing the body of the individual in that movie introduced themselves with the name, it was in Latin, but Nefarious was the name of the demon that was in this man's body.
That's the name of the
So
movie, Nefarious.
Nefarious, yeah, it's really good. Sean Patrick Flannery does an incredible job. You've got to see it. And like I said, in that movie, the demon kind of delineates the spiritual agenda of the demonic and satanic side to corrupt humanity as basically a big middle finger to, God. So, and how that affects uh, the spiritual realms. So, when we get into this stuff, what we're talking about is like collective timelines for the planet Earth itself, timelines for humanity. This is why they have the agenda of fracturing human collective consciousness into these compartmentalized and propagandized groups of warring tribes, because a unified consciousness on this planet would expel these low frequency entities. They would easily be found and discovered. They would easily be seen. Then we would get to the level like where you're talking about, where certain people are like, oh yeah, that's the demon nefarious, stay away from them. And then they would not be able to corrupt humanity. And it's the same thing on the other side, like, oh, that's the archangel so and so, or what have you. So these entities have been here for a long time. What we're dealing with is the conclusion and the remnants of an ancient interdimensional war for the planet, and a controlling of collective consciousness on this planet, how that affects the collective consciousness, not just of the galaxy, of the universe, but also the universe, and how that affects the multiverse. And based on our collective consciousness, which is largely comes down to our individual consciousnesses, and having enough people on the planet either believe and understand the truth of unity, or believe and invest in the illusion of separation, and how those collective consciousnesses each have in one way or another polarized or antithetical timelines, and how these timelines exist in the multiverse, and how the frequencies of these timelines layer on top of one another within the dimensions, on a solar, on a galactic, on a universal level. And so the ascension of the planet is largely based on certain individuals on the planet circumventing the social and environmental pressures that are being created by these less than 1% demonic entities that are trying to use their monopolized resources, their monopolized labor, their monopolized currency systems, and the government's monopolies on the initiation of force to reinforce the fracturing of our collective consciousness. Now, what's really interesting about it, though, is that it's actually having quite the opposite effect as they try to brainwash humanity and try to force humanity into a mental and spiritual prison. What is happening is that humanity is waking up and uniting in large part against said agenda. Now, yes, there are people that are buying into the bullshit. There are people that are believing the propaganda and are allowing their hearts, their minds, their spirits to be placed into this death matrix prison. But that number is increasingly shrinking. And all we need, and I think we've already kind of achieved, is to reach a certain level of collective awareness as to what is going on the planet, how these other dimensions works, how it relates to things like sacred geometry, how it relates to emancipating ourselves from the illusion of separation. And once that threshold is reached, there's nothing that can be done. It's only a matter of time before we ascend physically, because we've already essentially ascended consciously and spiritually as a collective.
So I'll get back to something in a sec. So on that, what, like, let's say we all probably know someone that my word that I created is sheepnesia, that has sheepnesia, that's still, like, when this new nonsense is coming with this variant, they're going to fill the back seat in their car up with boxes of masks and surgical gloves and ask everyone around them to wear those into the store, and they're going to be on that level. Are they going to be okay? Like, is everyone going to be okay? Like, when we reach the point, is our, the consciousness, or what has to happen to shift this, will it ultimately, like, like, boom, like, jar one of their teeth loose and rattle their brain and bring them into the reality of the truth? Like, is everyone eventually going to be okay? Do you have the answer to that in a matter of time,
Well,
or at a
God
different time, or
wins. God wins.
God wins?
Um,
We know
you
that.
know, so look at it like this, okay? If we're talking about the ascension of the planet and humanity and the universe and collective consciousness, let's examine it from the perspective of cymatics. Are you familiar with cymatics, where they have
No.
the salt, the grains of salt on the metal plate, or the grains of rice on the speaker, and then they channel the frequency and it gives
Yes.
patterns? Okay, so that's cymatics. Now remember, when they have a low frequency, the pattern is very simple. It's not very complex. But as they higher the frequency, and the frequency transitions from a low frequency to a high frequency, there is a transition period in there where there is no discernible pattern. And then all of a sudden, boom, a new pattern locks into place. A higher frequency, a higher, more complex pattern locks into place. So if we were to look at humanity and the planet and our consciousness and all that stuff in this, using this metaphor, the planet would be the metal plate or the speaker. Okay, the electromagnetic field around the planet would be the frequency, right? And or the sound. And the grains of rice or the grains of salt on the plate or on the speaker would be humanity, would be our civilization, would be all of the life on the planet as a whole being moved around by this higher dimensional frequency that is affecting our thoughts and our emotions and therefore our behavior. So if you think about it like this, the full moon affects our thoughts and our emotions, and it affects the tides, obviously. Now, if our bodies are mostly water, well, then of course the moon and its electromagnetic effects on the planet and the oceans is going to affect our thoughts and our emotions. It's going to affect our physical bodies, the water that our bodies are made up of. So try and grasp that the same effects that the moon has on the planet, or that, say, like Mercury being in retrograde has on the planet, or that the sun cycles have on our planet, you know, the solar maximums and solar minimums, the same effects are akin to the same effects that the galactic plane that we are traveling through as we orbit around the galaxy, or the effects of the galaxy moving through the universe and the multiverse. All of these things are factored in to our thoughts and our emotions. So what's happening is that as we go from the age of Pisces, which we just came out of, which is kind of a lower level frequency, consciousness frequency, and we move into the age of Aquarius, which we are doing so now, we are kind of in the midst of now, there is going to be a period of time where there is chaos, where there is no discernible pattern, okay, where nobody knows what the F is going on, okay? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, boom, a new pattern locks into place. And when that happens, I believe that the people that you're, like, you know, talking about, the sheeple, the people that believe in the scamdemic or the plandemic, and, you know, the idea that the government is their friend and the medias wouldn't lie to them, those people, they may very well have a cognitive dissonance, a very profound cognitive dissonance. They also might wake up along the way. They also, you know, unfortunately, if you really look into the effects of some of these jabs, they might not be on the planet anymore because they were naive enough to trust evil people and trust them with their DNA and with their bodies. I really can't say. One thing I can say is that I think humanity is going to be fine. I think that we're in the process of ascension as we speak, and using things like the Rife machine and stuff like that may very well help people to overcome and circumvent the negative effects of these essentially mRNA bioweapons that have been created by the pharmaceutical companies.
Oh, yeah, I mean, this show isn't on that. I mean, I know this Healy is helping. I mean, my father, unfortunately, is jabbed, boosted, 88, and I'm literally saving his life with frequency. I mean, there's no other way to explain it. And I think God gave me that story, not for us. It's nice. And the device also helped me to get rid of my ancestral baggage and forgive him and love him enough to do that, because, you know, I didn't like him very much. He wasn't very nice. So this consciousness thing, this, you know, this Healy helped me
Well, and
heal
that's,
myself.
yes, and that's a part of this ascension.
Right.
is forgiveness, is love, is letting go of the past, moving forward, having and embodying peace within and therefore without, and affecting those around you with that love and with that peace and that forgiveness.
So that's what I wanted to touch on. I don't know how long. It's 7 o'clock. How long do you have? Because I don't want to. I want to.
I got like another 15, 30
Okay.
minutes, something like that. All depending.
Okay. And then are you going to promise me we'll do something in October? We'll talk about it
We
maybe
can,
next.
yeah, we can do something most likely. You know, all depends. You know, things are, you know, the
I
landscape
know.
is always changing.
I know. And I maybe it'll be sooner, but what I'd like to concentrate is on once people realize that you're not, just some lunatic who ran into the Capitol. That's all part of like a
The
major
psyop,
plan
yeah.
psyop to help, shift consciousness to where we have to go. That they're going to learn that soon, and they have to learn. They have to know.
Well, I just to let you know, I mean, this is all God's plan. I don't per se believe in the idea of, um, this idea of people being behind all of this. I do think that people are playing a role in it. Absolutely. I do believe that there are what some people call white hats within the deep state. But I think that we're all grains of rice being moved on the speaker here, and that there's a much higher dimensional pattern and frequency that is moving us in space and time where we need to be when we need to be there. And
Wow.
it is about transitioning or causing our consciousness to evolve into these higher dimensions. And certain people play a larger role in that than others.
Oh, I totally
But we
know
all
that.
play a role. We all do play a role.
At the sake of being very safe, so it doesn't sound like, oh boy, they're tenor. Like that sounds like ego. Like whether I was ready or not or whatnot on my birthday, what I experienced, what you're saying right now, you have my hair standing up. I believe that was my moment where I either asked for it, I needed change, or the boss sent my shook my salt up on my birthday, right, to send me to do whatever. Like I can't even make sense of a lot of things. I just know I traveled the country in the mystery machine, and I met so many patriots, and I feel like I'm fighting, I'm screaming from the rooftops to try to tell people what's going on. And I'm exhausted, quite frankly. And going back to, I'll bring in me because so many people. This is hopefully going to help so many people. But I'm gonna speak about me, and I don't mind talking about it because people that followed me know that I lost everything, and one of the tragedies is my fiance, and we still talk, and even recently, and I love this person very much, but she's the one that's going to have the gloves and the masks and the boxes in the back seat if we're trying to be together. And here I am, I will not comply. I'm going to this higher dimension. I know the whole thing's bullshit. So how do we coexist? You see?
Well, the answer is that you don't try to force your understanding down people's throats. I mean, think about it. Whenever they try to do that to you, it rubs you the wrong way. So, what I think the answer is peaceful coexistence and becoming an example of how it is that your perspective has brought you peace, not being an example of how it is that your perspective has shaken up the world of others, because people will come to you when they are ready. The best thing that you can do for people if you're in a discussion with them is to ask them questions if that's what they are open to, making assertions, making declarative statements. There is always going to be some form of a psychological trigger or an antithetical narrative to your perspective and your beliefs. So by asking questions, you are then able to plant seeds, and you can help people to deprogram themselves. But remember, you represent the God that you worship. So if you're screaming at people, then you're not doing a good job of representing the God that you worship, because God doesn't scream at you,
Mm.
right? So you have to embody peace. You have to embody harmony. You have to embody love. And then people will want to listen to you. People will want to hear what your thing is because you seem so unaffected by all these things that are dramatically affecting them in their lives. And then is when you have the opportunity to divulge what has given you this peace. And remember, milk before meat. Okay. So you don't want to just try to cram the whole steak down the throat. What you want to do is give them a little bit at a time, and then they will process it, and then they'll come back the next time that they're hungry because they like the milk. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
like your thing. And so we have to stop trying to win the argument. We have to stop trying to convince people in one conversation. And a lot of the time, what it's going to take for people is for them to see it on their own. And that's why asking questions is so profound and important.
Is that why you think I wanted to touch on like here's my belief. You'll either agree or say I don't want to talk about it. So we're watching a movie as far as I'm concerned. Like one of the things that's factually tangible that you can pick up and read that gets brought to our attention. Derek Johnson is showing like the chronological order of the War manual. The DoD was rewritten. They looks like Trump was installed into this global operation to help on that level to clean things up. To me, it looks like that's happening because when you watch this movie, when you see the fence around Washington at that time, it's the opposite way. It's closed for business. It looks like Trump is clearly the commander in chief. He got an inauguration at the airport. Biden had to, the whole thing. People can't grasp this because they're still brainwashed with they can't get it. But it looks like this global operation is cleaning up. So every day when we see these hearings and these things in there, it looks like they're doing all of the scenes. It's fantastic. They're just exposing the corruption, and I believe that's part of they're playing that. What's the next scene? What's today's Sunday? So we were all. What's tomorrow? What's Comer gonna? Who's he gonna subpoena? Who's gonna get arrested on? From the other end to wake more people up? Hunter Biden, this, that, the corruption. So that's the milk. That's the way it looks like the military globally is giving milk to everyone, right? And so, but when we say they're dead, Hollywood, they're all sick. There's clones. The Hollywood strike is because Hollywood's out of business, and no one wants to hear us. So I think we got to just take a step back, calm down, try to relax, live, know everything is going to be okay. Like you
Well, and
say.
I don't prescribe to some of those beliefs.
So I was going to say
Yeah, I keep myself out of the loop on purpose, man. What I do is I sit back and I watch over long periods of time. And then I place together the pieces of the puzzle over time. I don't get lost and mixed up in the melodrama of the day. Because when you do that, you largely have the opportunity to become heavily distracted. So, what I
So
like to do, oh, go
do you
ahead.
believe that that's part of the not to interrupt, I think it's important for people to hear, and please jump right back there. Do you believe that this is do you believe that this stuff is the distracting things that are keeping us from do you think that that
Um,
part of the psyop, I mean, whether it's real or not, keeping us down, not allowing us to.
well, maybe. I think that there are certain elements to the Mockingbird media's narrative that are most certainly designed to keep us divided. Abso-freaking-lutely. That's largely their MO, is keeping people divided. But because of the effects of the collective consciousness growth, there are also certain elements within the truther communities that lead people astray because they are trying to fragment the unity of consciousness. So this is part of why I have the opinion that I do about like not heavily investing myself in modern narratives. Um, when I look at the situation, for example, with Trump and the way that he seems to be heavily insulated by the military, the way that some people are saying that they're carrying around a football, the way that Biden doesn't seem to be heavily insulated at all. The notion of the bankrupt American corporation being what is collapsing, whereas the genuine American republic, the constitutional republic, is actually advancing and growing. I'm just sitting back and watching. I'm not going to stop working to raise the collective consciousness. I'm not going to just sit back and, as they say, trust the plan. That's never been my MO. I will always continue down the road of ascension for myself and humanity. I think that it's also important to note within some of these quote unquote truther communities that there are going to be disinformation agents that contaminate truth with lies to create a misinformation narrative and lead people astray. And then once they are led enough astray, then the truth comes out and debunks what everybody believes. And in this sense, it demoralizes people. It demoralizes the movement. So it's interesting to watch. There's a lot of people that think that what happened on January 6th was filmed in front of a green screen. That's the level and the extent to which some people are lost.
Oh
That
no,
they believe that it was a
a
movie.
January
They
6th.
literally believe it was on set. And so, but that's what I'm saying happens to be the risk that we run when we go too deep down that rabbit hole of this idea that it's all a movie, that it's all a psyop, that it's all there to create this illusion for people that is designed to wake them up. I think it's more along the lines that it's God's plan, that we have to trust, not Q's plan, but God's plan.
Would you like to say something about Q? Do you have anything to say? Real? Is it someone anointed by God? Is it a team? I mean, do you have anything to say about Q?
I think it's a psychological operation. But the question is what is it a psychological operation intending to do? What is the goal? And considering that it brought light to the debt-based fiat currency, considering that it brought light to child and human trafficking and the slave trade, considering that it brought light to people like Jeffrey Epstein and the blackmail of government officials or CEOs or Hollywood celebrities, then it's a psychological operation, I think, to bring about a raising in the collective consciousness and a move toward ascension and unity. But once again, it was infiltrated by certain groups, and it was used to give out disinformation so as to demoralize the movement and fracture the collective consciousness.
So it started out wholesome, and obviously because we're in a spiritual battle and between good and evil, they're gonna try and screw everything up at every turn. But it did. I believe it was extremely helpful for those things that you just said, and those things are all very, very, very real. Again, before you go, I wanted to tell people I just found it. I'll put the link in there, but they could scroll back like over 2 years ago on my Rumble channel, which you can get at TennersTribe.com. If you guys haven't hooked up with me, go to TennersTribe.com, and all of my social media is right on the homepage. It's called. There's a picture of you in the chamber wearing your garb, and it says terrorist horn guy from Capitol Breach is a super soldier and works for the Navy. And I'll put the link under this. And I beg anyone, if you watch
I don't know how much I work for them anymore. Considering everything, I really wonder where things are at. If it is true that the military is hosting tribunals and like what Jan Halper was saying, and the Space Force has it all, and all that stuff. If that's true, then I may very well be playing a role that I have not been read into. But it's also entirely possible that given the situation with the current Biden administration, the war in Ukraine, and covert operations, they may view me as an enemy. The very government that I fought to protect, the nation I fought to protect, that very government may view me as the antithesis of their agenda. I really don't know. What I'm going to do is continue to march forward with God's graces and take my next step on my faith walk and trust God's plan.
I love it, bro. I didn't I didn't know if we spoke about, I think offline I told you that I was creating a website called patriotfinder.us for many reasons. It's like it just keeps like getting pounded to me that it's so important for many reasons. Like if I had an outlet a couple years ago and I was just depressed and was seeing these things, right? And then I was speaking and then I was losing everything. Everyone thought I was crazy, the people that can't see it. I felt like I was on an island, and alone. And then if I could find a place, while all of the censorship was going on, where I could message people, even just to have a cup of coffee with in my community or to show up, because I do believe, and I want you to, before you go, which we got to go any moment now,
Yeah, I got to go soon.
I want you to tell people what you think the most important thing is, and is like, is Patriot Finder like people that, I mean, I hate to say patriots and like segregate because it's about coming together, but I the Patriot Finder, like, you get it, and I just wanted people to find each other for whatever, whether they need someone to show up at a school board meeting or to combat the nonsense that looks like it's coming again. It looks like round two of nonsense is coming with the pandemic and the whole thing, and we have to stand up. And I wanted people to find like-minded people that they could just have in their lives, and they can search by zip code and stuff like that. Is that feeding into like a not good thing? And I don't mind asking you right here in front of everyone, and I'm going to take the answer that you think. Does that feed negatively against what we're trying to accomplish, or is it nice trying to find like-minded people in the meantime to get through to the end of this, when we hopefully get that shift that we're working for towards?
Well, I think that as long as you're not advocating for violence, then it's a positive thing. As
The
long as you're
positive thing.
advocating for unity and love and forgiveness, then it's a positive thing. I think that if God has placed something in your heart, then you should do it and do so without fear. I think that when it comes right down to it, it's going to take, a billion, a trillion drops to make a flood, and if you're one of those drops, then you're essential. So, whatever God has placed in your heart, I would say go for it. I would also say that if you ever get the message that you should do harm to others or yourself, then it's not something coming from God. So
Right.
use that as your filter. God's angels will never ask you to harm yourself or others. So as long as it's something that's peaceful and nonviolent, as long as it's about creating unity and love and forgiveness and harmony, I don't see any harm in it.
Cool. Or well, I put that link up there, and I'll put the photo in on this edited version. Jacob, this was really incredible. I feel like I knew when I saw that video when it got removed from Facebook. I just knew in my soul that I would be talking to you. I didn't know it would take over 2 years, and it
In
makes me
God's time, all in God's time.
all, and it is all on God's time, and that's the great thing. And after speaking with you today, man, I learned so much. And one of the most important things I learned today is that my grain of sand got rattled on my birthday, and I was ready for it. I was kind of subconsciously asking to be saved. And I think there's a big part of that too in this future. These people that are confused, and when they start going through what you said, their cognitive dissonance, when they start to realize, not that it's about us trying to tell them, like, it's not about being right and being the hero. Like, I was just having this conversation. It's just about, I'm just trying to share with you. I'm trying to give you things that I think are very important, that you should know, that are coming. I just want to try to save you. I'm just trying to help. But I don't think it's our role anymore at this point to do that. I think it's time to make those phone calls, right? Reach out to those people, try to salvage the relationships. Look, I don't
Yeah,
want to
just
talk
just
about
to
it.
even tell them you love them, and there's no hard feelings. Kind of like what you did with your dad. God will call you to do all sorts of things that your ego doesn't per se want to do. Final note: if people want to help toward the collective awakening, the ascension, and help toward the individual awakening and ascension of individuals, then the best way to do so, in my opinion, would be to ask questions. And if you're going to introduce new information, introduce information regarding things that don't have psychological triggers or basically are not in the Mockingbird media. Dr. Rife and his machine and frequency healing, talking about Nikola Tesla and his Tesla Tower technology, infinite free, clean wireless electricity, talking about those patents that we discussed, those 3 patents, talking about like a gold-backed currency, a precious metal-based currency. All of these things are things that are neutral ground, and the Mockingbird media has not tainted this ground because they don't want to cover it. So these are things that are in the minds and the hearts of Republican and Democrat voters alike. These are things that are neutral ground and upon which you can build solid foundations between dueling factions of political identities and create some level of unity between people that you thought were antithetical to your political ideology. Because everybody can agree that if there's a cure for cancer and disease, it should be released to the public in spite of the fact that it will have a negative impact on pharmaceutical profits. Everybody can agree that if there's an infinite free, clean, wireless source of electricity, then it should be released to the public in spite of the fact that it will affect, petroleum companies or lithium mining companies or solar panel companies or wind turbine companies or natural gas companies. It also will get rid of all the pollution. And everybody can also agree that if there's a safer, more efficient, and faster form of transportation, like the TR3B or the zero-point energy engine and the TR3B combined, then it should be released and used by the public, because it will lower the cost of all transportation. It will make it safer. It will make the shipment of goods much more efficient and therefore cheaper and faster. So everybody can agree on these things. Everybody can also agree that the idea of being in debt to the tune of $32 trillion.5 at this point is absolutely ridiculous. And if we had a gold-backed currency, then that would put the real money in the pockets of every man, woman, and child, and it would save our country on multiple different levels. All these things would save our country. So it's not so much about fighting the old. We don't want to use our energy to fight the old. We want to use our energy to build something new that is better and makes the old full spectrum dominant system of the globalist less than 1%ers obsolete.
Amazing. You were reading my mind there. Do you have? I'm just going to close out the show. Do you have a minute to hang in the green room so I can ask you a question offline before you split, or should I write you?
I got a minute. Yeah, if people on your channel want to follow me, they can find me at America Shaman on Twitter. That's at America Shaman on Twitter, at America Shaman on Twitter. And you can also go to my website, ForbiddenTruthAcademy.com. That is ForbiddenTruthAcademy.com. On ForbiddenTruthAcademy.com, we have all sorts of free courses that you can take. We have all sorts of free content regarding like my podcast, my interviews that I've done. And if you would like, you can watch all of those videos. You can take those free courses and then schedule a consultation with me personally if you would like help in your spiritual development in the future. And we also have merchandise. We have some great merchandise, like awesome shirts that are just so funny. They're so good. You got to check them out. Even if, the website is worth visiting just to look at the merch because it's really funny. But all the free courses that are seriously at this point, like at least 20 hours worth of content that is entirely free and will blow your mind.
Yeah, just knowing you now, I can't wait to actually see your merchandise. It's going to be pretty hysterical. And I want to thank you so much again. Hopefully, we can have you back in October. Are you able to hang for a moment, or should I just email you?
I got like 1 more minute,
All right,
but then I gotta go.
Probably won't be good. Thank you so much, man. I love you, man. You're truly a hero, and I really hope people, the very next thing that they do when they click out of this video is click the very first thing I'm going to have down there, the terrorist horn guy, because that will set
Yeah,
up.
maybe change that. Maybe change that title, huh?
Well, it's written there. I'm sorry, man. Maybe I'll try to change it
Not a
before.
terrorist,
Huh? Well,
I said I'm not a terrorist. You could easily just say Q-Shaman. That might, be better.
I'm gonna change it. I'm gonna change it to something. It'll be the first thing under there. It'll be the, the horn guy from the Capitol riot is a Navy super soldier. So look for that. I'll change it for you. Thank you. I know how
Thank
that could be
you.
bothering you. It was sarcasm, but
Yeah, I
I
know.
will
I
do that.
know.
I will do that for you. I will do that for you.
Thank
I
you.
love you, brother. Thank you so much. I look forward to speaking with you again. This was great. I literally been waiting for this for years, and what an amazing birthday present. September 10th,
Happy birthday, brother.
2023. Thank you, sir. Everyone hang around. I'm just going to close out, give a couple of links here. Jake, thank you so much. God bless, brother. And just keep doing what you're doing. And I'm going to start to watch your stuff because I didn't know it was available now. And if it's a fraction of what is in the video that I want people to watch with the mind blowing intelligence that you have, I want people to know you're probably one of the most intelligent people, articulate I've ever heard, and I know that God has you working as one of the hardest working people to help bring us to the place that we're all looking so forward to going. And they should check out everything that you have because it's probably better than just about anything else that's out there because it's true. And I don't know what all the other stuff is, but I have to tell you, from the moment I saw your video that I knew that I had to capture it, I knew in my heart and soul that you were the real deal and you were important and you are important, and people better start to grasp that, and they really should start to listen to you because you know what's coming.
I'm flattered. Thank you. God bless and much love.
Thank you, sir. So, guys, as we were talking about, Jake was talking about the the Rife, and we've been dealing with a device called the Healy, and I have a website right there. It's based all on the Rife technology. We have a nice community. We're changing lives. It's breathtaking. This thing scans the body. It tells you the root causes of why your pain. It's not just masking and treating pain. It's telling you why. It's telling you everything. It does your ancestral, your aura. It's breathtaking, and I would go to healingtheworld.love, and I've got two videos on the homepage. If you scroll down where it says what is Healy, it actually talks about Tesla and the Rife and everything that Jake was talking about. So owe it to yourself if you want to heal yourself or a family member. That's that. Please go to TennersTribe.com and hook up with me on all my social media. I try to do shows at least once a week on the Grassroots Warrior Network, where you will also be watching this video. And the last thing we were talking about was the Patriot Finder US. So that's a site where you could search by zip code. We've never asked for anybody's address, and you can find patriots in your community. You can search the distance from your zip code, how far you want to go, 5, 10, 15, 100 miles. And we're just getting going, and it's free. So that's patriotfinder.us. There's the logo right there. And I think we've covered everything. That was amazing. Jake, you got to go to his website. He has those videos. He also has videos talking about the new type of communities or cities. I don't want to mangle it, that are coming, and how they should be built, and how it'll be incorporating like free energy and water systems. And it really is heaven on earth. And Jake is the real deal. And I apologize to those that I said I didn't think Jake was in jail, because I thought he was just, they would just start tracking him, beaming him up into the anti-gravity, after people visited him, and then he was traveling the galactics and stuff. But he did go to jail. Doesn't take away from anything of what the man is. So apologies to that. But what a mind-blowing show. So happy I had him. And we'll hope to have him back. And thanks so much. I'm Stephen Tenner, where we speak truth and from the heart. And I almost can't talk because I've literally been waiting for that interview for years. And get it through your heads. Jake is the real deal. And Jake is going to be, has been, and will continue to be one of the most important people helping us get through this crazy time. And like Jake said, call somebody and tell them you love them. I'm Stephen Tenner. It's Monday night, September 10th, 2023. My birthday. and it's 7:30 Eastern, and I say goodnight to you all. Bye bye.